welcome into another edition of Bama and Bourbon with Aaron Suttles from Alabama. I'm Lance Taylor for the next round, where we talk bourbon and we talk Alabama. Right now, Alabama basketball, NCAA Tournament starting up this week. Look what we have here.
How about that? We dreamed of this day.
We really did. I mean, we have gone through, I would say, 80 varieties of bourbons.
At least.
Maybe more. But we finally have the Pappy. This is the 10-year variety. I've never had it before. This is compliments of our friend Alexander Shunnarah. Nice enough. I'll tell you what happened is he gave me a bottle. We were at his office, and a new great client here on the next round, and we were talking bourbons, and he brought up Pappy, and I was like, I've never had it. And he's like, I'm going to bring you a bottle. So he brought a bottle, and then Dunaway's like, can we try it? I'm like, hell no, I'm saving it for a special occasion. And then every chance Dunaway gets to bitch and complain about it, he does.
No, he doesn't.
I swear. And so Shunnarah's guy called me up, and he's like, I'm going to bring a bottle where everybody can have some.
There we go. Yeah. Nice guy.
So now we're going to share with the classroom. So this is the bottle. I've never had it, so you guys will see an instant reaction from me.
I've had the 10, the 12, and the 15. I have a bottle of unopened 15 that I've been saving for a special occasion.
What is that? If Alabama wins a national championship?
No. That'll be a family thing.
Okay.
Like I wanted it before we had our second son.
So if little man has a pick six, wins a championship, something like that. Okay, very easy here. I'm overthinking this one. Okay, so there are a lot of bourbon enthusiasts out there that are like, this is overrated. Now the fact of the matter, it's all about allocation. Is why it's so rare, right?
It's supply and demand, and it's the same reason why sneakerheads. There are some sneakers that are more popular than others. This is popular, but just because there's not a lot of them out there. And look, it's good, don't get me wrong, but is it worth the hype? Probably not. It's just they're hard to get, and especially here in Alabama. You gotta win the lottery.
Well, I think MSRP on this thing is like $120.
No, that's a good smell.
But because it is so rare,
it's a real amber color.
It's so rare that these are selling on secondary markets for $1,000 a bottle.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll go into, there's a place down right off of 30A in Panama City, Quicker Liquor. Guy named Lee Moore owns it. He used to be a big marketing guy in Birmingham. But I forgot what his pours are, but they're like $40 or $50 a pour.
For an ounce.
Okay, here we go. And we'll get to Alabama basketball in a second.
Well, this was a special episode.
Cheers, by the way.
Yeah, cheers.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, I'm anxious to hear your review.
I mean, I hate to say it, but it's fantastic. I mean, it sits on the palate.
There's no bad aftertaste.
This is trouble because what I'm scared of is when I open my bottle for a special occasion at the house.
You're going to go through it?
I don't know how long it's going to last.
But you know what? You'd rather do that than let it sit there and never drink it.
Yeah, that's true.
I got a buddy that he's in the secondary ticket business on the market, and he deals in Kentucky Derby a lot, and he hooked this guy up one time, and to show his thanks, the guy gave him a full array every year. But he's like, I'm giving this to you because I want you to enjoy it, and I don't want you to resell it. So he made them open them all right there, and they each had a glass, and he let them.
Damn, didn't really trust him, did he?
I guess not.
Open them all right in front of me. This is really good. Really, really good. I really don't know the backstory on this brand. Like, how did it? There was a tipping point sometime with bourbon people where this became kind of the coup de grace.
Well, it used to be. I read a book. If you're actually interested in the history, Wright Thompson, who's, in my opinion, probably the best sports journalist out there, he wrote a book about the family that made Pappy Van Winkle, and it's also about his family. And it's really a story about families, but it's told through the story of Pappy Van Winkle. And it's I can't remember. I can't pronounce the name of it. The company that originally made it. But anyway, they stopped making it for a while, and then they started making it again, and the original distillery is not making it anymore. So now it's made, or at least it's stored, at Buffalo Trace.
And that's in Frankfurt, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look, this is that iconic packaging. Like, we did a reveal video actually before. And
you don't know what we're drinking today on Bama and Bourbon, right?
I do not, but your setup here does not make me feel great.
Right.
To be honest with you.
Okay, so Lance is about to unveil.
Will you take a little of this?
That's not what we're drinking.
Yeah, 100%.
How about that?
Shunnarah brought us a new bottle.
Look at
Special
that.
thanks to Alexander Shunnarah.
Okay, did I
you
lead
good
you
with that?
wrong?
Not bad at all. How about that?
I think Suttles will finish his glass today. I'm guessing here.
How about that?
When you saw it, I mean, this is just.
You see, you know.
Yeah, you see, you know, you're right.
But it's interesting. Like, it's been in movies. Like, the legend of this really took off.
Oh, and there was something on Netflix, and there was like 4 or 5 different stories. It was like true crime, and one dude was selling this stuff.
He was stealing it.
Yeah, yeah, and he was making a shit ton of money on the side, obviously. Because so, but this is one of those gifts. Like, if you've got the means, like I ain't got the means to go buy somebody $1,000 bottle of liquor, but if you do, like anybody that likes bourbon, I mean, you were gifted one of these.
So 2 Christmases ago, the Christmas of 24, or I guess 23, my buddies showed up for our annual Ugly Sweater Christmas party, and they had shipped in 4 or 5 of them, had gone in together, and got me a bottle of 15. And like tears came out. Like, it was that special to me.
I mean, again, if you are a bourbon enthusiast, to be able to sit down and sip this, pretty awesome, and it's fantastic.
That color gets me. I love the color. It just, there's no bitterness, there's no aftertaste.
Yeah, so this would be dangerous, like if somebody that doesn't like Emily Grace McWhorter does a lot of different things for us up here. She didn't know exactly when we told her it was Pappy. She's like, damn. But if and I would guess she's probably never had bourbon.
Probably
but you probably don't want to give this to a first timer because they're like, damn, this is bourbon?
Yeah, and they wouldn't appreciate it either.
Yeah, but then they might be like, when they try anything else.
Yeah, that'd be like you're 16 and your first car is a Ferrari.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember my old man would make these Winn-Dixie steaks back in the day.
Yeah.
They were burnt, they were fatty, they sucked. And then you have a really good steakhouse steak. Like we were at Hal's in Nashville this past week, and he had one of those steaks. Okay.
So I had a great steak too.
By the way, Nashville might have more steakhouses than any in a square, you know, in as far as like what am I looking for? Square miles or whatever.
You know, Nashville has it all except the infrastructure to hold how popular it's become.
Right.
Because it's a great city.
Yeah, did you go to Broadway at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too much.
It is.
We went to, and we had a hookup. We went to Friends in Low Places, which is Garth Brooks' bar. And so we ended up in this like crazy private room that was massive. And there was only like 10 people in it. And it's where Trisha Yearwood actually filmed some kitchen show that I didn't know anything about.
She's got a,
But you know, Ryan Brown was all about it. He wanted the tour, and so they took him back there. And it was really cool because it overlooked Broadway. And all I could do was, you know, drinking a nice bourbon. We were drinking Weller that night.
Oof, that's another one.
And I was looking over Broadway, and I was like, I don't want to be out there. Like,
it's a lot. We were at, my buddy got a sort of a private room at Dirk Bentley's bar.
Yeah. It's funny. Every country guy's got a bar, too.
Yeah.
Like, there's a steakhouse on every corner, and there's a country musician.
got one there.
Right. Alan Jackson. I mean, you could mow
Luke
through.
Bryan, Jason Aldean.
Eric Church's new place, Chiefs.
Chiefs. That's a real popular one.
Yeah. I didn't even, I mean, we walked by and I was like, ain't a chance in hell.
But it's amazing. I know the SEC tournament's going on, but you go in the spring and it's just loaded year round with people.
Yeah, it is a fun place. Like, more fun if you're in your 20s, 30s, and you can handle those kind of crowds. Yeah. But there are bars off the beaten path, and there's some, you know, bars in the Gulch and East Nashville, different places. Okay, Bama and Bourbon always brought to you by our friends at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Use that code TNR Casino, 300% deposit bonus up to $2,000. Also use code next round for the 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. Perfect for the tournament. Again, very important. Use that code next round at mybookie.ag. Beverage Place Pink Package. We'll tell you about those guys in a little bit. Every now and then, Chance said they do get this across, but it's just one of those that it's hit or miss. I think they retail those for $199, which is a good price point if you can find it.
Yeah, you can't find it.
Because you can immediately, like, if I was an employee, I would immediately buy it.
Yeah, if you find it anywhere, it's going to be expensive because it's going to be on the secondary market. Okay,
so things didn't go exactly how Alabama wanted in Nashville. They ended up getting, you know, they run Kentucky, then they get run by Florida. Yeah. You know, Grant Nelson, the leg injury, the specialist said Alabama dodges a bullet. It looks like Grant Nelson will be ready for Robert Morris if they want to play him against Robert Morris, or if they actually want to wait for St. Mary's and Vanderbilt that winter. What do you think happens? Do you think Grant plays first round against Robert Morris?
I could see him playing a couple minutes. I also could see him holding them out. He didn't play at all in the second half versus Florida. And look, you're right. Florida ran through them. Florida's running everyone right now. So I'm going to be completely honest. I don't think Alabama played that poorly versus Florida. The first time around in Tuscaloosa.
Well, the first 20 minutes, I mean, it was a coin flip game.
It was a 2-point game at half, and the story of the game originally in Tuscaloosa was that Florida was just outmanned, just out-toughed Alabama. The rebounding difference in the first half was 2. So, I mean, I thought Alabama answered the bell. I think there was a stretch that Florida got hot in the second half, and I'm not saying Alabama quit, but they got demoralized. And there's that funny line, you guys have probably talked about it. Nate Oates was asked why he didn't call a timeout, and he's like, why am I going to call a timeout just to tell my guys that they're playing harder? Yeah, take a timeout. Stop the momentum. Some people don't believe in momentum. I do. But I don't. When you look at the final numbers, especially in the first half, Alabama competed versus Florida. Florida is just, in my opinion, the best team in the country.
Oh, look, in Alabama, you have the lapse on defense. I mean, the defense allowed 85-plus in 12 games this year, so we've talked about that before. But when Florida goes out and shoots 51% and they score 57 in 20 minutes of basketball, it's hard to beat. And
Walter
the way
Clayton hit 5 threes.
Yeah, he's playing lights out right now.
They had one guy, I can't remember his name, but he had like 3 mid-range jumpers, turnarounds in people's face. So it was perfectly played defense. Florida has size. They're tough. They're deep. I with all apologies to Auburn, who I thought has been the best team in the country for 3/4 of the season, I think Florida's the best team.
Yeah, I think Florida is the best team right now. I don't have them winning this bracket because it seems like everyone does.
Yeah.
But, man, the ball rotation is so crisp. I mean, what Todd Golden has been able to do in 3 years in Gainesville, pretty amazing, yeah. Alabama's draw, though, in the East, I thought it was a pretty good draw.
Oh, it was a really good draw.
Yeah. I mean, because, Duke, we don't know Cooper Flagg 100%. I think he's going to be close to it.
Yeah.
I don't know if they get challenged for a little bit. Now, some people are talking Mississippi State Baylor winner could make it interesting. But I think Alabama, I think it's going to be Wisconsin. A lot of people don't want to see BYU. 48% of BYU shots are behind the arc if they play Alabama's style. And when they're on, I mean, we saw it this past weekend against Iowa State. They hit 18 threes. When a team hits 18 threes in a game, you can't beat them.
Yeah. And what would that be a Sweet 16 matchup?
That would be Sweet 16. Yeah. And I think that's the first time Alabama gets challenged. I know St. Mary's got a really good defense. But the fact of the matter, Randy Bennett's been there 24 years. They haven't been to a Sweet 16 since 2010, and I just don't see this Alabama team losing this weekend.
The only thing that would scare me about, that would be a round of 32 matchup, right, is if you look at pace of play.
Oh, it's much.
They're like in the 320s. So, and Alabama's number 1 in pace of play. So that would be, they say styles make fights. That would be a contrast in style. And
you want to see Vanderbilt. You want Vanderbilt to beat the Gales.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because just toe-to-toe with Vanderbilt outside of Nashville, I just don't see that team being able to make a run here. Outside of that, when you look at the bracket, potential matchups between Wisconsin, BYU, or VCU to get to a regional final, I do think Oregon is a team that is playing much better. Now, whether or not they get by Liberty and then they ultimately get by Arizona or Akron, we shall see. But, man, I've got a feeling this is one of those regions where we get 1 versus 2, and I think we're going to see a Duke-Alabama regional final.
And Duke is really good.
Oh, yeah.
They're really good.
I actually think they're the best team. I know I'm in the minority. Well, let me back it up. I think Florida's playing the best right now.
Yeah.
I don't know about Cooper Flagg. When Cooper Flagg is healthy, and it's hard to gauge because the ACC was so bad this year.
That's where I keep coming back to. And North Carolina pushed them and had a chance to win it without those free throw mishaps.
But do you? I mean, the sense of urgency for North Carolina, they had to win the game. Well, ultimately they didn't because they got in. It is the best rivalry in college basketball right now.
Yeah.
Alabama and Auburn are trying to change that. It's going to take a lot of years to do that. Yeah. But you got to factor that rivalry in too.
You do, but I don't know. I just don't think they've been tested.
Well, they haven't, and I know this was in Durham.
Way back out of conference, they beat Auburn.
They did beat Auburn.
But Auburn earned my respect that night, even in a loss, because that's a tough place to play.
Oh yeah.
And Auburn was right in that game throughout.
So
I don't know anything about Robert Morris. Can I tell you my first thoughts about Robert Morris?
I don't know anything about him either.
My brain wants to say Philip Morris, the tobacco magnate. That's where my brain.
I think Robert Morris.
So I don't know anything about
I will just Google it here. I bet he's like an American explorer that we probably learned about.
Do you know where they are
in history? Robert Morris, I am going to guess, is in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Let's see. Robert Morris University. Here we go. It is Moon Township, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
It's a private college, founded in 1921, only 5,000 students. I mean, this is kind of like the Pennsylvania version of Sanford. Very small, 24,000 a semester.
A little steep.
Yeah,
College
sounds
is
like a
steep
little
these
bit. Yeah, it's located near Pittsburgh. So there you go. But I don't know anything about the
I know
team.
zero about them. I just know that
This will be a top 10 upset in March Madness history.
It'd have to be up there, right?
Well, you've had 2 1s go down. Those are 1 and 2.
We've seen a few 2 versus 15.
Fairleigh Dickinson beating Purdue, and then when Maryland, Baltimore County, or Baltimore, Maryland
Beat
County,
Virginia?
whatever, beat Virginia, that was probably the biggest. But this would be up there. I don't see it happening. I think it's going to come down to that in Newark, March 29th, which is a Saturday, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Will you go to Newark?
We're talking about it. We're not going to go to Cincinnati. We went to Nashville. We are having a watch party in Tuscaloosa on Friday. But I think, given the way the season unfolded, a team with 8 losses getting that path is pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, and Alabama did have 10 top 25 wins. So I do think the committee recognized how difficult.
I wonder if Nate will do that going forward. Because it was insane, the schedule they put together.
I don't know if you need to with how the SEC is now. It's almost like, we talked about when we went 12 teams in the college football playoff when it expanded, like you could have these tough out-of-conference games because you maybe could absorb a 3rd loss.
Yeah.
But I don't know now where we are with this bracket of 68. With playing 18 conference games against top 25 teams every night, why you need a strong out of conference? I mean, Texas's out of conference was a joke, and Texas got in at 6 and 12 in
Florida's
conference.
wasn't great.
No, but
Florida's strength of schedule out of conference was in the 200s.
But then we saw how Florida played in conference.
Yeah.
But my point was Texas was 6 games below 500 in conference, and they still got in. So, like, to me, if I'm Nate Oates, I look at this and I'm like,
I think
Rodney
you still
Terry didn't schedule.
You still got to play a tough schedule out of conference. I don't know that you got to go how difficult they went.
Bama and Bourbon, always brought to you by our friends at the Beverage Place, Pink Package, right off of 280, both locations. One-stop shop, liquor, beer, seltzers, wine, sodas, mixers, cigars, ice, even fresh lemons and limes. They open early, they close late. Get in, see JJ, Chan, all the fine folks. You can ask them about this. Probably can't find it, but every now and then, maybe get a little lucky on that. And the Collective, Yay Alabama, how can people get involved? Any behind-the-scenes stuff coming up this week, next week, the next 3 weeks throughout the tournament?
Yeah, I interviewed Jam Miller today on the practice field, so that'll be up tonight. We had complete coverage from the SEC tournament behind the scenes, the day in the life, having players interview players for us. So you get some behind the scenes stuff that you're not going to see anywhere else, and hopefully that continues into Cleveland. Hopefully it keeps going through a Final Four run. Who knows? But now that football's back, we got a lot going on. We got baseball. Just swept Texas A&M on the road. So we got a lot of sports going on. So we're providing a lot of content for everybody.
Okay, so Nate Oates came out and said anything less than a Final Four is a disappointment. I agree. The way this team was, if they would have won in Nashville, I think they would have grabbed that 4th 1 seed. Yeah. I think it did come down to Florida, Tennessee, and Alabama, and whoever was going to win that was going to get the 4th number 1 seed. So I kind of agree with Nate. This team made a Final Four run last year. I don't think they were as good as this team.
They're not.
2 years ago, they were the number 1 overall seed. Where this program is right now, Final Four bust is strong, but where they're positioned in the East region, I think it is Final Four or disappointment. Do you agree?
I don't. I mean, far be it from me to disagree with a coach who knows his team way better than I do, but I don't see a team that's been consistent enough to expect the Final Four from against top-level competition. What was their best win in the SEC? Kentucky? I guess Auburn. I guess it would be Auburn, right?
Yeah,
so
Auburn
and Kentucky.
But when we would look at these, these 2-week stretches coming up, whether it was a Tuesday, Saturday game or a Wednesday, Saturday game, if you looked at what you've got, let's go with high seeds. Alabama, okay, Robert Morris, then St. Mary's, and then Wisconsin. Like, that would be kind of
Wisconsin's
a lull.
good.
I mean, they are, but that would be a lull in the SEC schedule. You'd be like, damn, we got a beneficial 2 weeks coming up.
But then they got to, to say that Final Four or bust, you're talking about beating Duke.
You got to beat Duke.
Which is the number 1 team in the country right now.
Yep.
So I don't think I don't like, because the tournament is so difficult to win. And it makes it sound like when you say Final Four bust that the season is a disappointment if you make the Elite Eight, which will only be the 3rd time in program history they had done so. I don't disagree. I do disagree with that because I think an Elite Eight when you're at Alabama's level and have never won a national championship, only been in the Final Four once, I think that's something to be celebrated. So to say getting to the Elite Eight would be a disappointment, which is essentially what you're saying is Final Four buzz, that's a little strong for me.
It sounds silly out loud, but I'll stick with it. I'll agree with Nate Oates because, like you said, he knows the roster better than anybody. Player that really needs to step up. I mean, Mark Sears is obviously Mark Sears, first-team All-American we saw today, back-to-back years on that. Congratulations to Sears for that, especially with the up-and-down season he kind of had. He's coming off a performance where he was 0 for behind the perimeter, 0 for 4, 3 for 10 overall, 26 minutes, only 9 points, had the 3 turnovers. So not a great game that he's coming off, but he is a guy that is capable of going 30-plus. We've seen it 3 times this year. So Sears aside, who to you is that most important piece to lead Alabama back to a Final Four?
Grant Nelson. I think we saw him, how integral he was in the win at Auburn earlier this season. What he did against, North Carolina last year in their run, beating number 1 North Carolina. I think he's just sort of the X factor. Now, having said that, it is nice to see Jaron Stevenson knocking down the 3 ball, which we saw in Nashville. And I think Philon had an outstanding game versus Kentucky. I don't think the guards played very well versus Florida at all. Any of them. Aiden, LeBaron, or Mark. So if you can get some guard play, and that's going to be led by Mark, first-team All-American, by the way, AP named today. 3 SEC players on that list, by the way. I think Grant's that guy, and that's why his health is going to be a lot of eyeballs on it when the game rolls around Friday. What is it, 11 o'clock? 11:30?
Yeah, I'll go Mo Diabate. Just, the 23 minutes off the bench from Florida, 12 and 12. He's just a gritty guy, man.
Keeps getting better, too.
You need those kind of guys once you get into the NCAA tournament. We'll see what happens. We should be back if all goes well. Alabama should win these 2 games and advance to the East Regionals, and that will be in Newark, coming up next Thursday and Saturday. Again, special thanks to Alexander Shunnarah, his associates, for the Pappy Van Winkle, the 10-year variety. Very, very good. Highly recommended if you get an opportunity out there. Special thanks to MyBookie. Again, use that code for tournament time. Next round, you get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. MyBookie.ag, very important. Use that code next round. Special thanks to the Beverage Place, Pink Package. Once again, Yay Alabama, how can you get involved with the collective?
Yay-alabama.com. Make sure you get a membership where you're getting all the exclusive contents and events and chances to win memorabilia. We just raffled we auctioned off the Crimson Tide, the old school logos that the team wore, each individual players. Mark Sears was very popular. Grant Nelson's very popular. LeBaron was. Those were our top 3 sellers.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay, there you go. Yay, Alabama. Special thanks to Aaron Suttles. Be safe out there. Enjoy your bourbon. Enjoy the games. Good luck with your brackets. We'll be back next week with more Bama and Bourbon right here on Cover Crimson.